You're listening to Panthers on Tap. I'm Curtis Rauen, joined by Bryson Karbley. We're just two fans sharing our love for the game in Carolina Panthers football. So join us, crack open a cold one, some bubbly, a little wine, some scotch. We don't care, whatever makes you sleep better at night. Before we dive into the episode, a little self-promotion. Stop what you're doing. Go give us a follow on Twitter at Panthers on Tap. Join the discussion on our Facebook group. We have over 2,500 members. You can listen to us wherever you get your podcast. Just search Panthers on Tap. All right, we're a few days removed from the Panthers' Week 1 loss to the Falcons. The dust has finally settled. We will break down the game. We'll look forward to the Monday night football game against the Saints. But first, Bryson, wanted to get your thoughts. We both went to Atlanta for this one. Just your thoughts on Mercedes-Benz Stadium, overall experience, disregard the loss.
Yeah, I was pleasantly surprised with the stadium. Not only the aesthetics of the stadium, it's a beautiful stadium inside and out. I really like the pregame stuff that they had out front for all the fans. They gave away free beer at one point, band playing, games for all Falcons and Panthers fans. I really like that. This is stuff that the team puts on themselves, so it's not fan run or anything like the Roaring Riot is. The Panthers don't really do anything like that in front of the stadium for Panthers fans unless it's like a special event. Maybe they will for Monday night, but yeah, I really enjoyed that. And then getting into the stadium, concession prices, which we've talked about, a $3 hot dog, a $2 pretzel, a $5 beer. I mean, you get one beer at Bank of America for the price of those three things. So I was really pleased with the prices. The seats were great. I thought that we had really good seats, on the upper level, but still great view. The video board was amazing. The little infinity board the infinity board that they have was awesome. I thought that they put on good theatrics with, having Jeezy in the stadium and showing all the celebrities there. I thought it was a great event. Even if it wasn't a football event, I thought that they did a great, just put on for the Atlanta Falcons. And, unfortunately we didn't get out of there with a win, but it was a great experience for my first away game. And I know it wasn't your first one, but I thought it was, an awesome stadium, and I would love to go back, next season whenever we play there.
Yeah, I had nothing but rave reviews like you, to be honest. I thought the stadium was great. Overall experience, easy to get in. Love the outdoor area.
Mm-hmm.
They had a lot to offer there. I know Carolina does like that place 60 stuff for kids, but there was a lot more suited for adults and kids at this Falcons game. So that was really nice. The concessions, I still can't get over that. I counted it, $9 for I think it was about a 12-ounce beer, a pretzel, and a hot dog for $9 frickin', and a beer at a Panthers game, I believe. Granted, it is a 24-ounce, I want to say. Those big cans, 16 or 20. I think it's 24 or 20. It's like $9 or $12. So it's nowhere near what it is. And David Tepper, if you're listening, lower those prices. They're ridiculous. And a ton of people were buying shit. Like no one was holding back. Obviously, because the prices are so low. And to be honest, I don't know how you felt about this, but I thought the lines moved pretty quickly through there, at least by our section. It didn't take too long. You weren't waiting too long in line to get food. They had people, which I was really impressed by, because I know at Panther games, I mean, you can sit, obviously during halftime, it's just a big rigmarole of people trying to get to the bathroom and stuff. But I feel like sometimes you can be waiting forever to get through a concession stand line at Bank of America Stadium. So yeah, overall loved it. Like you said, it was cool to see Jeezy there. I think, Carolina, for it being the Week 1 and Monday Night Football, I really hope they do go out and hopefully they bring in some people, because I felt like that really pumped up Atlanta fans and got them really into it early on. And then, not to get long-winded, another thing I liked was that I think it was like the Bird's Nest area. I think they could easily do that with like the Roaring Riot and, the Panthers Den or whatever the hell you want to name it, and have it like it was everyone wore like the same colored shirts, and it was definitely a coordinated thing. And you had like the big heads of players stuff. So I thought that was really cool too. But yeah, overall it was a good experience. Obviously Carolina didn't come out on top. So let's get into that. Let's start with the rookie, Bryce Young. Bryson, what were your thoughts on his overall debut?
Yeah, I mean, I can't lie and sit here and say that it was perfect, but if you expected perfection from a rookie in his first game, I think that you went in with unrealistic expectations. Bryce, I think for the most part, played well. You can't overlook the two interceptions, and you can't overlook the miss on Jonathan Mingo. Uh, when they were down a touchdown, I think it was in the fourth quarter, trying to come back. But he did some good things. I feel like the offensive line played well throughout the whole game. They kind of struggled at the end when Atlanta knew they had to pass. That Atlanta knew the Panthers had to pass, so that really put them in a tough position. But I think throughout the whole game, they played well and gave Bryce a chance. And I just think that his lack of weapons really hurts him, especially right now in his career. His lack of the wide receivers getting separation really hampers his ability to, I guess, see the field or even feel comfortable just throwing the ball. I mean, to me, it looked like the two interceptions came on the exact same route. I think one from Hurst and one from Terrace Marshall. And he just didn't – what Jesse Bates was doing was just playing lower because the Panthers were taking no deep shots. So the safety was cheating up towards the line of scrimmage. And Bryce, that's not typically where Jesse Bates plays. Based off of game flow, he was playing closer because, again, the Panthers weren't taking deep shots. So Jesse Bates was cheating up. And unfortunately, he caught Bryce twice. And it sucks because there's not really a wide receiver on the field, or there wasn't on Sunday, that could open the field up. Again, Jonathan Mingo did get that one, I guess, go route that he was open on, but that Bryce missed on in the fourth. But other than that, I can't remember too many other deep shots besides the other one that Terrace Marshall slowed up on and Bryce missed. But that was, I believe, I would say more fault to Terrace Marshall than it was to Bryce Young, because if Terrace Marshall would have kept his same speed throughout the whole route, I think that's a completed pass. But again, it's Bryce Young in his rookie debut. It's his first NFL game. Let's calm down the bust and the all other stupid shit I saw on Twitter. I mean, Peyton Manning in his first year was awful. Trevor Lawrence, I talked about it, I think, last episode. Bad first year. I mean, it's not untypical for a rookie quarterback to struggle in his first year in the league. And I do think that Bryce is going to play a lot better than he did this week, even this season. I think Bryce is going to continue to grow game to game because he's that smart and he's that good of a player. So, again, I think that there were some good things to come out of that game. I think there were some bad things that he's going to learn from. But overall, I felt hope. I felt promise coming out of that game from that quarterback position because, again, I saw some stuff that we haven't seen from the quarterback spot in a while in Carolina. So the two interceptions were bad, but I thought with the weapons that he had on the field and what he had at his disposal on Sunday, I thought he played well.
Yeah, I thought for a rookie debut, I thought it was decent. A lot of what you said, I'm going to reiterate here, but he had a nice throw across the middle to TMJ early on in the game. He had a nice throw across the middle to Hurst in a really tight window. It was kind of a little bit behind him, but he still hauled it in. I think you mentioned the one to Mingo on the sideline. I think it was on a comeback route that he had on a third down. Beautiful placement there. So his placement is top notch on majority of his throws. He obviously had the two mistakes, and I understand that. And they were very two similar plays to Hayden Hurst across the middle. Jesse Bates, he's looking at those eyes, and Bryce just stared down the target. So those things he's got to clean up. And, hopefully I think we'll see that improvement. I don't see, and I know we talked about this in the last episode, it's hard to believe Bryce Young's going to make the same mistake twice. Obviously he did on Sunday, but I think he'll clean that up. People got to chill the hell out, though, on the panic stuff. I had a buddy who texted me who's a Panthers fan. Legitimate text, too early take, biggest number one pick bust of all time. No way in hell.
You need to block him. Don't ever talk to him again.
So people just need to relax. Bryce is going to be fine. Again, there's a lot of new things that are happening. I know people want to see it right away, and they want this team to come off that 7-10 year and string off 3-4 wins right out of the gate. But we got to temper expectations here a little bit. It's going to take time. I mentioned it last week. These wide receivers, it's going to take time with them and Bryce and getting, gelled. And I guarantee you by probably week 8 or week 6, 7, 8, those guys are going to be clicking on all cylinders, and you're not going to see some of these, guys not taking the out route right or a back shoulder. I think TMJ let up on a route on a back shoulder when it was deep in the game.
Yep.
You'd like to see him go more to the outside and actually make an effort, because they might have even called DPI against him on that one. So, there's things that are going to happen. Obviously, you'd like to see Bryce hit the deep shot when they were on the goal line. Would have been a beautiful pass. Didn't pan out, but I think eventually he's going to hit those, and I think people just need to chill out. I remember a big concern was bad passes. Did he have one in that game? I don't even think so. So people can shut the hell up about that already.
And another thing, even a positive from that missed pass to Mingo, that ball was 40, 50 yards in the air from his own end zone. He flicked,
and he overthrew him. It's better than
overthrew him. Yeah, he overthrew him. So that plenty of arm strength right there. He shows he's got it. So
yeah, but overall, again, there's a lot you can take from it. I think there's a lot of learning lessons on also, not just Bryce. I think the wide receivers as well, but overall offensive observations for you. I know you touched on the offensive line a bit. I'll talk about that, and then you can go. Thought that was one of my biggest concerns going into this season was the O-line, just based off of what they did in preseason. And they shut me up. That was a stellar performance. I don't think the Falcons D-line is just some chumps. I still don't think. I still think they got some pieces there. So that they're a little bit older, obviously, but I still think there's some guys in there that can make plays. But Zavala, outstanding week 1. Icky, I thought, played well. Obviously, the line towards the end of the game, they were letting up some more plays, and we'll talk about that in a little bit with the PFF grades. But overall, I thought the O-line played well. And we got to give it to Chuba, man. Yeah. Chuba had a hell of a game.
Yeah, he did.
9 carries, 60 yards, 6.5 or more average per carry, which is outstanding. And Bryson, and breaking news, he caught both his passes, and both targets. So very good first game for Chuba. I thought all the backs played really well. Obviously, maybe you want to talk about Sanders a little bit, but yeah, I thought overall the backs played well in this game. Obviously, we can talk about the turnovers too, but wide receivers, different story though.
Yeah. I think the backs played well as well. Chuba looked really good in his touches in that game. I thought he was the most explosive runner on the team. So props to him. He is figuring out how to determine what lane to take when running the ball. His vision has improved a lot. He caught both of his passes, like you mentioned. So I thought Miles looked good as well. I think he had something like 60 or 70 yards rushing and 20 or 30 yards receiving. Caught his passes as well. So, he just wasn't able to find the end zone, and unfortunately. But I thought both of them played well for their debut. Well, for Miles Sanders' debut in Carolina. So, offensive line was super surprising to me as well. I thought they were stellar throughout the first half. Basically Bryce was untouched in the first half, and that's just icky. Silenced all doubters. I don't understand how there were doubters. I know that there were some mishaps in the preseason, but I never for a second thought that Icky was in trouble. I'm happy that he's continued to build off his rookie season, in which he was one of the better left tackles ever as a rookie. So I'm happy to see that. I'm happy to see Zavala step in, like you mentioned, and kind of not miss a beat from his transition into the NFL. Everybody else in the offensive line played well.
And while you can keep talking while you're talking, I'm going to bring up these PFF numbers on the O-line.
Yeah, absolutely. And, I thought that towards the end of the game, of course, when the Falcons pinned their ears back, they knew that Carolina needed some passing yards. They got after it a little bit, but, it happens when you're in that position, and it's not the easiest for the offensive lineman to block at that point in the game. So it's understandable, but I thought that they were great. And then, like you mentioned, the wide receivers they're just not good enough right now. Unfortunately, it is a talented room, but they don't have that one guy that defenses have to key in on and focus on, and that disrupts all other coverages. I'm sure they treat every receiver the same on this team right now, and there's no one guy that scares somebody that defenses are staying up at night to scheme against, which really hurts in a lot of areas for that offense. So yeah, I think that there's room to grow, and maybe one of these wide receivers steps up and becomes that this season. Maybe it's Jonathan Mingo. I think that he has the potential to do that. Maybe it's Terrace Marshall. We'll see, but I'm not giving up hope on that group yet.
Yeah, these O-line grades I feel like are a little deceiving because I did not expect these colors or these numbers, to be totally honest with you, when I was looking this up on PFF earlier.
Yeah.
But you sometimes get that with this site. Again, their grading scale, I'm not sure how it's graded out, but this is what it was across the board. Again, I thought these guys played much better than what they were graded. I think I don't know what the stats were entirely of how many sacks they were giving up towards the end, but those numbers were skewed. I think it was the first three. I want to say the first 3 quarters. I don't think Bryce Young was sacked.
Yeah, I don't think so.
I could be wrong on that, but I want to say it was. I know it was the first half he wasn't. So again, I thought, and again, he had a couple throwaways, so there was some pressure in there at times, but overall, I think he handled that well, and I thought the O-line, for the most part, played well across the board until that end. So obviously, you want them to be playing their best in the fourth quarter too, but those turnovers didn't give them much help either offensively for this team. But yeah, overall, I thought they played well. Are you surprised at these numbers?
Well, when you average them out, when you average the pass block and the run block for each, they're actually not bad at all. So you got Icky at 67.9 overall, Brady Christensen at 56, which is in the yellow as a grade. You got Bradley Bozeman at 68 overall. Zavala in his first game in the NFL at a 57.9 yellow, which is decent, and then Moton at 66. Looks like Icky gave up 1 sack and Zavala gave up a sack, but the rest gave up hurries, and Bozeman gave up a hit. So 2 sacks when we thought that maybe this offensive line was going to be, a weakness going into this game, but they were an absolute strength for this team to start the game going into the fourth quarter when this team was, still in it. So I was pleasantly surprised with the offensive line, and I know that they're going to continue to build on this. As long as that group stays healthy, they're one of the best in the league. I don't have any doubts about that.
Well, and what's really promising about all this is, the Panthers right guard, arguably the best, offensive lineman on the team, is out right now. So once he comes back, that's just, you're going to have a good problem where are you going to put Zavala and where does Christensen go? So it's a good problem to have, and I'm really excited. I'm really happy that, Carolina went out and drafted Zavala in the 5th round, was it, I think? Or 4th round? 4th round.
4th. Yep.
Yeah, the 4th round. So again, there's going to be some nice depth pieces in it. The storyline was going into the season, even national, Bryce Young's going to get killed out there.
Yep.
Didn't hear any of that. So that's good to see. And again, we'll see what happens this week against the Saints, but there's promise there, which is exciting. I kind of wanted to talk about the offensive play calls for this game, because that was another storyline headed into this season, was the vanilla play calling, is what they were calling it. So I just wanted to get your take on what you saw schematically from them, Bryson, on Frank Reich's decisions. Obviously, one of the big ones was that 4th and 1 on the second drive. I believe it was the second drive, or was it the first? I'm blanking. Maybe it was
the first drive.
The first drive where they went down 4th and 1. So what was just overall play calling, and then that decision too? Were you a fan of it? Because I know you are a big go for it, take risk type of play caller. That's who you kind of like, is your style. So what were your thoughts on all that?
Yeah, I believe at that point in time I had told you I didn't like it at the stadium. I thought that Carolina should have taken the points there. I do generally really like going for it and on 4th down. But I thought at that point in time, a rookie first drive on the road, he stalled out. I believe it was like somewhere near the 10-yard line, or maybe the 20. And I felt like it was just good to take the points at that time, get some points on the board, get things going. I first of all hated the play call that they called on fourth down. Didn't think it was a good play call. Then they didn't get it, which kind of killed a lot of momentum right off the bat there. So that I didn't like at all. I thought they should take the points. Overall, the play calling in this game was not great at all. A lot of motion. They used a lot of motion in this game. It seems like it was a lot of the same scheme-wise running the ball. I've heard things mentioned yet. When certain two players came in, it was always a run. When certain other two players came in, it was a pass. In regards to Hurst and Trimble versus Thomas and Sanders. So, or Thomas and Sanders. I apologize. So I mean, I felt like the play calling was continued down the vanilla path. I mean, I really didn't see a whole lot of trick plays or crazy things that were scheming guys open or anything like that. So felt like the Falcons defense was keying in on what Carolina was doing, and they weren't really fooled by a whole lot. And that's what happened with Jesse Bates cheating down from his safety position, playing in the box, playing towards the line of scrimmage, and getting those 2 interceptions on Bryce because they were doing nothing to threaten the deep ball. So Jesse Bates didn't have to worry about that. So I think that I'm not ready to call for Frank to give up the play calling. I'm not even close to that at this point. I think that Frank Reich is still a really good offensive mind and a good play caller. I think that it's just, again, there's so much newness on this team, from the coaching staff to the play calling to the new quarterback to the new running back to the new wide receivers to the new tight end. All, like, everywhere on offense, there is a new player in a very important position. So it's going to take more than one training camp for them to be all on the same page in meaningful games. So, if we get into week 8, 9, and 10 and we're seeing the same stuff of the play calling really not being exciting, not really taking risks, not, forcing defenses' hands to play, that safety back more than up towards the line of scrimmage, and maybe at that point we're talking about maybe Thomas Brown taking over and calling plays. But I think Frank still he deserves a chance. He has a right to keep it for more than a week, and fans, calling for his head after 1 week of play calling. So I think we've seen worse play calling in Carolina than what we saw this past Sunday. If we go back to Joe Brady and we go back to fucking what was Dickhead's name? Yeah, McAdoo from last season. I know you were a fan there for a while there, if I wasn't mistaken. But yeah, I mean, I think we've seen worse in Carolina. So again, just a new team overall, and they're still trying to figure things out. And unfortunately, that's the way it is in the NFL. It's not always everything clicks week 1 and you're good to go. So be patient. I know it sucks. We've lost a lot in Carolina, these past couple of years, but I think once things get rolling, it's going to look a lot better. And I think fans are going to be excited even more than we are now, having Bryce on this team. Fans are going to be excited for the season. So.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm kind of in the middle on it, the offensive play calls. I didn't think it was less vanilla than the preseason. I thought they had a way more motion into the game, a ton more. I mean, it was almost every play. Bryce lined up in the pistol. I don't recall seeing that ever in preseason at all, or in practice at all. I mean, it was either Bryce in the shotgun with a back aside of him or him under center. Another thing we didn't see in that game was Bryce under center. I don't recall him being under center. I wanted to watch the whole game back. I only caught about a quarter and a half. I watched yesterday, the first quarter and a half, but I do not remember him under center at all. Maybe on the fourth down play was he under center? I can't remember. On the 4th and 1, he might have been. That might have been one of them. But he played a lot under center in preseason and in training camp with play action, and we didn't see much of that. So definitely something to keep in mind and see what they do and switch it up. And it might just be based off of how Atlanta's playing on defense. They used a lot of, at least what I call it, a T formation. You had Bryce, a back behind him and two backs on the side, or a tight end and a back on the side. I don't know what they call that, what anyone else calls it, but that's kind of the way I refer to it as. But they played that. I've never seen that formation once until this game, and they ran with that a lot.
Laviska was in the backfield quite a bit as well.
And that was, I think, by design, was supposed to be hidden. They were not wanting to show their cards at all on that. And I remember I had a buddy who had texted me in the offseason when Laviska was available, and he's like, "What's up with this guy?" And I'm like, "Dude, go pick him up. I think they're going to want to use him as like a Debo guy." I literally, in the first half of that first quarter, I texted my buddy. I said, "You're welcome." Because I mean, he had 4 or 5 targets passing, and they ran the ball with him. Obviously, it wasn't some like big explosion day, but for a guy to pick up on the bench, I thought it was a good, a lot of people outside this team that really didn't go to practices weren't really expecting that. But
yeah,
aside from that, I do agree with you. I think there could have been mix-up. Bryce under center, Bryson shotgun with a back aside him, is changing that up more. Maybe they're trying to keep stuff a little bit more simpler for Bryce. I don't know, but it just seemed like they used a lot out of those two formations majority of the game. It was either him and pistol or that T formation they used a lot. I'm curious to see how much they're going to use those screen passes out wide to Laviska in the future. I know he scored on a couple of those last season, but it just seems like teams pick up on those. We'll see what they do moving forward. Some other things I was thinking of just offensively, Hayden Hurst. I mean, I'm glad this is dropping tomorrow because I want to pick him up, but that is a guy I'm picking up in fantasy. Like, he is going to get targets. Bryce Young likes to go to him. It seems like Bryce Young's security blanket so far, just based off of week 1. And, the waiver wire, resets overnight. So that no one in my fantasy leagues will know, but that is a guy I'm definitely picking up. I think he's worth, a stash, even if you got a good tight end for a bye week or whatever. I feel like he's going to have some value there. Bryson, we talked about this while we were there a little bit. The rotation, they rotated guys literally every play.
Yeah.
And a lot of the times it was the backs and tight ends rotating in and out. So I just wanted to get your thoughts. I don't know if I'm just old school or what, but I like to see a back get a couple plays in a row to build off of something. And that was kind of my concern with it. And I understand, keeping their legs fresh, but sometimes it's nice to just build some consistency. And I guess we've had the benefit of, Christian McCaffrey, where they run him, to the ground, I guess, if you want to say. But just your thoughts on that rotation.
Yeah, I think Frank's history really lends to what we saw on Sunday. He typically has more of a split backfield. I mean, he's trying to get that 50-50, 40-40-20 with 3 maybe split in the backfield. He's always done that, and I think he's going to continue to do that in Carolina. I was disappointed not to see Blackshear. I don't think he played one offensive snap, but disappointed not to see him in the backfield. I talked about all offseason how he might be running back 2, which is clearly not the case right now, which Chuba has played and deserves to be running back 2 from the performance on Sunday. So it was disappointing not to see that. But, yeah, I think the rotation was interesting. I haven't seen anything like that in Carolina. And, it did keep guys fresher, I guess. We didn't really see a whole lot of difference really from, I would say, last year's offensive production to game week 1 based off of the substitutions they were making. But yeah, I mean, it's definitely, I feel like it could help, throughout the season. We get later into weeks 15, 16, 17. If you're doing that, your guys are going to be fresher long-term. So this is a team that is going to have a chance at, being in the playoffs, a wild card spot or winning the division, and you have that rotation going. Maybe that helps you in the long term.
Yeah, I was just looking up the snap count quick. Yeah, Blackshear did not play an offensive snap, which honestly, I'm not too – I mean, I'd like to see him play, but I'm not like overly surprised because he didn't play a lot offensively, even in preseason, I feel like, when I thought they would have used him a lot more.
Yeah.
but I hope at some point he does get his opportunity, because I think he's made the most of it when he's in there. But yeah, he played, it looks like 9 snaps
on special
from this
teams.
last game. Yeah, on special teams. So we'll see what that rotation. And I don't knock the rotation. I just, if Sanders is going to rip off an 11-yard run, don't take him out right away. Let him run a couple more times and then bring in Chuba. Like, I don't see the benefit in that. And I feel like that tires guys out too, running in, backing in and out and forth, all the time too. And you could kind of get in your own way that way. But again, we'll see. It could have just been, that's the way they thought they were going to benefit against Atlanta. And you might see that more. And I know Frank does like that rotation, but we'll see what happens moving forward with that. Do you have anything else to add offensively? I'm just trying to look through my notes here. Oh, the 38 pass attempts I wanted to mention. A lot. I did not expect that for week 1. I think obviously later in the game, that's just how it went.
Yeah.
But overall, I thought, I think we're going to see more of a balance, obviously, as these games play out. And Frank even mentioned that he thought 38 pass attempts was too much. So just something to monitor moving forward. But I think that was it for me on the offense. Let's talk about the defense here. We got to start with Brian Burns, because that was the question going in. Is this guy going to play? What's going on with him? And he fucking dominated. That's why I put this damn graphic in here. He kicked ass, dude. He just was everywhere, all over the field, and you could tell he was playing pissed off, man.
Yeah, not only rushing the quarterback, but in the run, in rush defense, played well, man. I mean, I don't know what else to say besides pay him whatever he wants to keep him happy and keep him in Carolina. He had, I believe, a sack and a half. He's on pace. I don't know the numbers on that, but if he averages a sack and a half a game, he's going to be well over, the 20 sack mark. So I'm obviously kidding. He's not going to continue that, but I mean, he looked unstoppable, and that was a good offensive line that he was going up against. And not only him, but Derek Brown as well, beast in the middle. I mean, those are 2 perennial defensive linemen, 2 of the best in the league at their positions. And I mean, when they are cooking, that is a scary duo for offensive lines to look at on the other side of the ball there.
Yeah. I love pissed off Brian Burns. Like, I hope they can somehow channel that, because he clearly was playing with you could tell, just like an extra step. I mean, it was fun to watch, and it was, I was obviously hoping the outcome was better, and because the defense, I thought across the board played pretty much lights out most of the game, and they got screwed on a couple. I mean, it's hard to get after the defense when, Bryce Young coughs it up in their own side of the field. I think, the Falcons on that first turnover got the ball at the 21-yard line. It's hard to ask, a defense to hold up. Obviously, they give up the touchdown to Bijan Robinson. Frankie Louvu had a missed tackle in there. Shaq Thompson, he bounced off him as well. But Brian Burns, he's a menace, dude. I mean, seriously, he wasn't Spider-Man. He's like fucking Venom out there, just taking. I mean, I don't know. I can't remember. You might remember the right tackle's name, but he was making that guy his bitch, dude. It was ridiculous.
I can't remember it. I think it might be Jake Matthews, but I'm not 100% sure on that right tackle's name. But what is interesting is that, even Arthur Smith in his postgame made comments that, they had to go in at halftime and make adjustments to protections because Brian Burns was disrupting so much on that defensive line, and they had to specifically game plan, against him. And that is something that is just invaluable for an edge rusher, which is the second most important position on the team to have. And, Brian Burns shows that he has that top end ability, top 5 ability in the league to rush the quarterback and get after the quarterback and disrupt a game. I think if he can continue to stack this up, games like this, because, to be fair, in the past, he has disappeared for a game or 2 every now and then. And I think the biggest issue has been his consistency. So I think he's going to be consistent this year. I don't see any way teams are going to be able to consistently block him for 4 quarters and him not disrupt anything because he's that fucking good. So yeah, I mean, a beast. Pay him 30, pay him 40, pay him 50, pay him 60, pay him 70. I don't give a fuck. Pay the man whatever he wants to keep him in Carolina and keep him happy.
Yeah, and just looking at the sacks, so Derek Brown had a sack. You mentioned him. He played really well. Frankie Louvu, I know he had that missed tackle, but he had a really good game as well. He had a sack. I think he had 3 QB hits in that game. Shy Tuttle had a half sack. We mentioned this during the game. I can't remember what point, but I thought Nick Thurman struggled.
Yeah.
Again, I didn't key on him during the entire game, but there was a couple of points where like, who the hell is that? And it was, Nick Thurman giving up the edge or whatever it was on the play. So, but yeah, I thought across the board, I know you mentioned Justin Houston. I was watching that game back. He did not get a lot of opportunities. He was only in, at least the quarter and a half I rewatched, he was only in on third downs. He wasn't in on any other down. I don't know if that changed throughout the game, but I noticed that. And again, obviously they're expecting him when he comes in, to get some pressure. So again, I'm sure they want him to make plays on those third downs. And that's typically a passing down, but it looks like he had 1 tackle for loss in the game overall, but again, didn't see a whole lot from him. But I don't know if that was just from limited snaps, and I can pull this up just to see. Let's see here quickly. If I can find it here. Justin Houston, where are you at? Oh, he did play 52%, 27 snaps. So he did play a decent amount, I guess. But, I mean, obviously not 100 like some of those other guys, and I didn't expect that, but I thought it'd be a little bit more than that.
Yeah, and another player that really stuck out to us, and we had to look it up. Like, who's number 13? Who's number 13 on the field? And it was Troy Hill. And Troy Hill.
To be fair, no one in that stadium knew who 13 was because there was a couple people around us too that were like, "Who the hell?" I think he changed his number though. I don't think he was 13. Yeah. I want to know if he was one of the numbers changed. But yeah, he had a really freaking good game.
Yeah, a lot of tackles behind the line of scrimmage, kind of like the screen passes that they were running with Bijan and other players that they have. But yeah, I mean, even in coverage, I really didn't see a whole lot from Troy Hill that I didn't like. So that's really positive. They just signed him not too long ago, maybe a month ago, brought him in. And, with the loss of number 8 that we're going to get into, I'm sure in a little bit, Troy Hill might be playing a very important role in this defense.
Yeah, he was the highest graded defensive player, 76.4 from PFF.
Yeah.
So
not surprised.
Yeah, he bought for a guy who came in, like 2-3 weeks ago, and to get thrown in there, third quarter or whatever it was. I don't remember when he came in.
Yeah.
But he shined. He played well, and he's going to be called upon. We'll talk about him a little bit. We got to talk about Dante Jackson. I thought, just looking at his grade, it looks like he didn't grade out very well, but I thought majority of the corners played well in this game. I didn't see any plays do you remember any plays where Dante Jackson was given? I don't remember anything where he was giving up some big play.
That's probably mostly because of the quarterback that they were playing. Desmond Ridder wasn't. Yeah, they weren't taking deep shots. They weren't. Desmond Ridder was throwing it maybe 5 yards per attempt. Like, it wasn't anything crazy. They were running the ball. That's what their game plan was, and that's what they were doing. So yeah, I would hope that the corners played well in the very few pass attempts towards their way that they had throughout the game. So
let's talk about JC Horn now, because no, I want to stop yet. Let's talk about CJ Henderson, then we'll get to JC Horn. Because that guy, I lost faith in him in last year in that Bucs game, and really have never recouped any of it. And I know he had, which he always has had, a good preseason and good training camp. But when those lights come on a Sunday or Monday or a Thursday night football game, he just struggles. Again, you mentioned it, there wasn't a lot of pass attempts, but when things got down there and it mattered in the third quarter, I think it was, or maybe the the start of the fourth, he had that one pass where I think it was up to Kyle Pitts, and it seems like he just loses it once the ball's in the air and it's to his guy or the guy he's covering. And it showed again. I mean, it wasn't a lot of opportunities. And again, for the most part, they played well, but those plays keep coming up for him, and it's frustrating to watch. And they traded a 3rd-round pick for this guy. So
yeah, and I guess the worst part for me is that he's never like out of coverage. He's always there. He's in position to make a play, but he never does. He's always getting beat over the top, or like what Kyle Pitts did, kind of like went around him. I mean, I believe that was in the 4th quarter when Atlanta went down to score their 2nd touchdown and go up by 2 touchdowns, is when C.J. Henderson gave up that pass. And that really sealed the game. And, they didn't take many deep shots, and that was one of the very few ones they did, and they completed. And, of course, it was on C.J. Henderson. Who else would it be on? I mean, he was in coverage. He was there. He had a chance to make a play on the ball, but it's like he, freezes. His brain stops working when the ball's in the air and it's coming his way. He either pass interferes or he doesn't make a play on the ball. I mean, I don't understand. And,
well, and you need your playmakers to make those plays. Like those are the plays you come back to and you remember, and you forget about anything else he did in that game. Those guys are expected to make those type of plays when it really matters. And up to this point, he just hasn't.
Yeah, and this guy was a 1st-round pick, 4 years ago or however long ago it was. So, yeah, I mean, he's just unfortunately not panned out, and I don't think he's someone Carolina can count on opposite Dante if, J.C. Horn's going to be missing time. I think it's going to be Troy Hill. I think Troy Hill's going to be the corner opposite of Dante Jackson. At least I hope. I mean, I think Troy Hill showed, like we just talked about, he's the highest graded player on the defense. Of course, he wasn't in, coverage on the receivers, to the outside receivers very much this past game. But I think Troy Hill has shown more in one game than CJ has his whole time here in Carolina. So,
yeah, let's talk about J.C. Horn now, because that's the talk really of this game. I'll be honest, I missed part of the play, so I don't entirely remember what actually happened in the game. I just remember you telling me, dude, J.C. Horn's down. And then I was like, oh, shit. So, obviously reported today he's going to be out in multiple weeks with a hamstring injury, and those can linger. I mean, this thing could drag out like 8-9 weeks. This thing could be, 5 weeks. We don't know. These injuries are ticky-tacky, if you want to call it that, and especially for the position he plays, that and wide receiver. So, Bryson, I know you've had a lot to say about this during the game, after the game. Fire away.
Yeah. This is an injury that is going to linger throughout the whole season, I believe. He's going to go on IR. He's going to miss 4 games. He's not going to be here when Carolina needs him, when they've counted on him 3 seasons in a row, and he's been injured 3 seasons in a row. Yeah, he played games last season, but missed time too, significant time. So he's missed more games than he's played in Carolina. This is the 8th overall pick 3 years ago. The corner taken right after him is an all-pro. I don't believe Surtain's missed a game. Shutdown corner. I mean, the year after is the Sauce Gardner draft. Sauce Gardner Defensive Player of the Year, Offensive, Rookie Player of the Year, however you say that award. J.C. Horn has let the Carolina Panthers down, and it's not anything personal. I'm not trying to hate on J.C. Horn. I'm not trying to, bash him, but unfortunately the situation is that this team has counted on him for 3 years in a row to be the number 1 guy in that cornerback room, to be one of the best players on the defense, a game changer, and they've had to scramble 3 years in a row to find his replacement, and it's really left this team in some bad spots. And it's not anything that he can control, unfortunately, with the injuries. It's just the nature of the business of the NFL. And to have that history here in Carolina, which people want to bring up Thomas Davis, and, he tore his ACL 3 years in a row, and then look at his career he had in Carolina. But this is a different time. We had other linebackers in that room that were playing really good at that time. I think it was John Beeson and, Luke Kuechly maybe at the beginning but I think that this cornerback room led by Dante Jackson now, and Troy Hill and C.J. Henderson, is one of the worst rooms in the league, cornerback room in the league. They're bottom 5 without J.C. Horn. And we're a Dante Jackson injury away, a guy who himself has had multiple injuries throughout his career, is known to miss time. we're a Dante Jackson injury away from a catastrophe, and a Bucks 2022 a game away again from Mike Evans going for fucking 3,000 yards versus us and us losing the game. So all offseason, I feel like all we talked about was the lack of depth at edge rusher and the lack of depth in the cornerback room. And then they come out and they love their corners. They say that that's a good room. They're confident in them. Blah, 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 blah. Here we are, game one, first half of the game. J.C. Horn is hurt. He's going to miss God knows how long and probably not going to be fully healthy for the rest of the season. I imagine it's going to linger. And, we got to count on Dante to stay healthy and play good. But, those are two separate things. Dante Jackson isn't always known to be a good corner. He struggles as well, and then he's got to stay healthy. And then, you got Troy Hill and C.J. Henderson battling for corner too. I don't know why the hell they don't have Bradley Roby in the building right now. First of all, getting some intel on their team that are going to be playing on Monday, and second of all, being the starting outside corner opposite of Dante Jackson. So J.C. Horn, I like him as a player. I think he's got all the talent in the world, but his time is up in Carolina. This team cannot continue to count on him and scramble every single season to find his replacement because he's not on the field. The best ability is availability, and he has not shown that in Carolina. And I think that is in Carolina's best interest to not pick up his fifth-year option. I think it's going to be about $12 or $13 million, which is not a whole lot of money. But when you got guys like Brian Burns and Derek Brown and Frankie Louva to pay, and you're gonna dish out that kind of cash for a corner who hasn't played in as many games as he's missed, I'm passing on that.
Will this be his fourth year, or is this his fourth year, or is this?
Yeah. So
will next year be his fourth year?
Yeah. So they'll have to decide next season to pick up his
next
fifth year.
season.
Yeah. The
by May.
year.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. Okay. Yeah, it's unfortunate. I can't defend the injuries really. That's just the way it's been. Which is super frustrating because it isn't his fault. No one can blame him. Like you can only do so much. I don't think training's an issue with him. I just think he's just had some freak things happen, and it's unfortunate. He's a hell of a player when he's on the field. I think he goes toe-to-toe with PS2 with Surtain. I really do. He can't stay on the field, and that's the frickin' problem. I don't know if it's a turf issue. I was looking back at his college, just his bio on the Gamecocks website, and just from what I can gather, he was out 2 games in 2018 for an ankle injury. He didn't miss a game besides that in his 3 years in college. So he didn't really have an injury history from what I could gather. He sat out in 2020 for 3 games because his coach was dismissed, and Will Muschamp. He started all 12 games in 2019. Then 2018, he missed 2 games with an ankle injury. Gamecocks play on an all-grass field. Again, I don't know. I'm trying to find answers because I just don't understand it. And every time he's gotten injured with a leg, it's been on a turf field.
Yeah. So
it's frustrating as hell because I do think he's a really good player. But you kick yourself. I mean, you got to go back. You look at that draft and you kick yourself. Hindsight's 2020, but they passed on Surtain. They passed on Parsons. I mean, you could even say they passed on Slater, who was, a really good left offensive tackle at the time. But it's frustrating because he is a damn good player when he's healthy. He's just been unfortunate, and it sucks.
Yeah, I don't deny that, and again, it sucks because I know he hates it more than any of us hate it that he's not out there, and it's just a shitty situation all around. It's shitty for the fans. It's more shitty for him than anybody, but unfortunately, it's a business in the NFL, and this team needs players to play. They need players of that importance to play, and 3 years in a row, these significant injuries that he's had. I just, the crazy part is if he's cut or if they don't re-sign him, then he's going to go to another team and he's going to be healthy for the rest of his career. He's going to be a Pro Bowler.
You know it's going to happen.
I mean, that's just the Carolina way. That's just what happens. So, I think what I really look back on is Carolina not re-signing Stephon Gilmore, who goes out and has he's graded at a 91 overall PFF for the Dallas Cowboys on was it Monday Night Football? I think it was Monday or Sunday Night Football. And he plays lights out. That's a guy that shouldn't have never left the building in Carolina. So unfortunately, you live and you learn, and we've done that a lot in Carolina. We've I don't know if we learned from our mistakes, but we've made a lot of mistakes in Carolina, and that was definitely one of them. So I hope J.C. Horn recovers quickly. I hope he makes me look so stupid and shuts my ass up and goes out there and balls out, because that's what I hope for the most as a fan. So I'm just so frustrated with him, and I know it's not necessarily with him. I'm just frustrated with the situation overall because of where it leaves the team, unfortunately.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I was just thinking of what you were talking about with the fifth-year option. I still would probably pick it up. I'm stubborn as hell, though, but I think I'd still pick it up, even if he musters out 8-9 games in a season. I think his worth is worth it. Again, I might eat my words on that when I find out how long this guy's out or whatever the case is. But at this point, I think, and because like we talked about, I just feel like if he goes to another team, he's gonna ball out, and we're gonna be looking stupid as hell.
But if it comes down to keeping a guy like Frankie Louvu or Jeremy Chin versus picking up that fifth-year option, are you leaning towards picking up that fifth-year option over those guys?
Over Chin, yeah. I'd have a hard time with Louvu, though.
Yeah.
That would be a tough decision, because I think Louvu's impact and the guy's available. I mean, that's the biggest thing.
Yeah, speaking of Chin.
I could take or leave Chin, but yeah, I wanted to mention him.
Just a side note.
Yeah. I don't remember a lot. I know he played a lot in that game, but I just don't remember a lot. Impactful plays, I should say.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, maybe it's not a bad thing we didn't hear his name a lot, but yeah, I don't really remember 21 making a lot of plays in that game. But
he played 73% of the snaps on defense in that one. Yeah. So
all those guys are going to get more work this upcoming week, though. So
how concerned, and we'll talk about this, I guess, a little bit more in the Saints game, our preview. How concerned are you with the wide receivers, kind of going back to the offense? I know DJ Shark is kind of up in the air for this week. I posted his IG that blew up on Twitter. I honestly don't know what it meant. I just knew people would like it. So, yeah. But I'm just curious what your thoughts are on that room.
Let's do a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being, panic button, mashing it. I would say right now I'm about at a 6 with the wide receiver room. I think that Shark coming back is going to help with that deep threat, because that's what he is. And we saw it all offseason. That's what Bryce liked to throw to, going deep. So I think I'm not ready to kind of mash the panic button, but I think there is some worry there, because, those guys on the field on Sunday didn't get much separation. I think the guy that got the most separation per route run was Laviska Shenault at like 4 or 5 yards on average separation. I think Mingo had like 1.38 yards per route run, and I don't think Thielen or Terrace Marshall were much higher. So I would like to see the wide receiver that we picked up from the Chiefs. I already forgot his name, but Smith.
Marset.
Smith. I would like to see him get some action. I know, he's new to the team and probably still learning the offense, but he's a wide receiver that's kind of shown a little bit in the preseason of that. He does have the ability to get that separation, and then maybe they call up another guy, especially if Shark is out this week. Maybe they bring Shi Smith back up or Derek Wright, 2 guys that have shown some promise in their past. So I'm not ready to mash the panic button. Do everything you can to go out and get a trade to get whatever talent you can bring in at this point. I do think that Chark is going to help again, and then I think that this room is going to continue to improve throughout the season, especially Mingo being a rookie as well. I'm the same patience with him that I'm showing Bryce. I'm showing Domingo, because, again, learning an NFL offense, playing against NFL talent is a lot different than playing in college. So Mingo's going to learn. Thielen, I don't know. I think Thielen's Thielen. I don't really know how much more he can improve throughout the season. He's a NFL veteran. He's older. We all know that, and I don't know how much learning he's doing at this point, but I think that he's still a valuable piece to this offense. But yeah, I'm hoping that chart comes back and improves a lot. I don't know if that's the case, but that's what I'm hanging on to right now.
Yeah, I'm about a 6 as well. I don't try to make knee-jerk reactions after 1 week, especially week 1 with a new staff and a rookie QB. Week 3, 4, 5, and we're starting to see the same shit. Yeah, then I'll start to get a little concerned. But it's so early right now; it's hard to tell. Obviously, they need speed. I mean, there's no doubt about that whatsoever. And hopefully, Chark adds to that if he's back this week. Fingers crossed. And I was just thinking about that with the hamstring. He was announced injured on August 23rd. It's the 12th now of September. So what is that? 2, 3? Is that 3 weeks? 3 weeks he's been sidelined. So that just kind of puts a perspective. Obviously, it's a different person, but just the J.C. Horn comparison with the hamstring injury as well. I just wanted to throw out there. This is what I want to say he's entering week 4 of that. So just something to keep in mind. But yeah, corner is a concern, and the Dante Jackson thing is spot on. They're a Dante Jackson injury away from being a disaster in that cornerback room. So I hope they find something quick. Obviously, they found something in Troy Hill, and that was a signing, out of left field for us at least, and he's panned out. So hopefully that can continue, but they really might not. Scott Fitter he will make trades in season. So if that calls for something, I don't know if they think that's worth it to give up more capital or whatever the case is, but that could be something that's on the books for them to do if things get worse or Dante goes out or whatever. Because again, it will get scary if that's the case. We already saw last year with Henderson. I mean, that I don't want to rely on that guy, and they're already going to be relying on him. But so it'll be interesting. Let's talk about tonight. Speaking of second and third and fourth chances, here you go. So the Panthers are signing Tariq Cohen. Yes, former Bear running back. Has been a playmaker at times. He can return the ball. He can catch out of the backfield. He can play in the slot. He can play running back. So versatile. Looks like he's going to be on the practice squad to start. Thoughts on Cohen, Bryson?
Yeah, I was excited. I think I tweeted back when he was doing the interview. I think it was Good Morning Football that Carolina should give him a call and bring him in for at least a workout. And looks like they did that, and looks like they're proceeding with bringing him on to the practice squad. So I think he has to pass his physical, and then sounds like he'll be announced on Wednesday to join the practice squad. So I'm excited. I think that he does bring some versatility to this offense. He is a weapon that can be another one at Bryce Young's disposal. I think that, again, he is, like you mentioned, he's going to play some slot receiver. He's going to play running back. Obviously, he's going to be one of the guys out of the backfield that's going to be catching the ball a lot, probably going to get some screens. I think that it's a low risk, high reward signing. I think that he's going to, again, add to these weapons or lack thereof that Bryce Young has at this moment. And, why not throw the dart at the dartboard? And I'm sure the contract's nothing crazy. He's only 28. He's fully healthy. He's coming off of, I think his last season was 2021. He's had really good years in this league. He was a Pro Bowl returner. And I think he might slate in there as well here in Carolina. I know Smith Marset was returning kicks and stuff, but he had that one really bad return that got him pinned inside the one. So maybe they're like, Tariq, get out there and show us what you got, man. So I wouldn't be upset about that at all. I think that Tariq, again, is going to provide a little bit more versatility on his offense, and I don't think that's anything that any of us should turn our nose at.
Yeah, so just to kind of set the stage here, he has not played in the NFL. He suffering an ACL, MCL tear, as well as a tibula plateau fracture in September of 2020.
Mm.
So he's been out dealing with injuries. He also had his twin brother was tragically killed in 2021. So
Wow.
he's been through a lot. He's got thrown a lot at him, and it's a true comeback story. Like, you think of Thomas Davis, the 3 ACLs, this comes to mind. Like, this is, he hasn't gotten a chance. I know it sounded like he, announced to Schefter a couple weeks ago that he was healthy and ready to go and just needed a chance from a team. And Carolina obviously gave him that chance, and I hope he makes the most of it. And we all know keep pounding. I mean, this sounds like the keep pounding story right here. So again, I hope he comes in and he starts returning kicks and starts flashing. He gets some opportunities on offense or whatever the case is. We'll see how that works, though, because you have Laviska Shenault. I mean, this kind of sounds like a Laviska Shenault type guy. So I don't know what that means for him and this offense and his role. But it sounds like Carolina, saw something in him. It sounded like he had a pretty good workout, obviously, today for them to give him enough to sign him on the practice squad, and we'll kind of see what happens. I think they refer to him as the human joystick, from what I've seen from his wife. We haven't even mentioned this. Shame on us. He is a Aggie, A&T alum. So I know our boys at PNP they're drinking that juice tonight. I'll tell you that. They're loving every bit of this. So yeah, I mean, it's exciting. Like you said, low risk, high reward, throw a flyer and see what this guy's got and give him a chance. And it sounds like he's been working his tail off to get back into the game. And I was looking at his Twitter, he shares a good amount of, he loves video games. I mean, he's on the Call of Duty and Madden and everything else. So he's ready to roll. And I hope we can start the human joystick, back into Carolina, and he can start making plays and maybe, add a weapon to this offense that is really needed right now. Let's talk about this game this weekend. Saints coming in, Monday Night Football, big stage for Bryce Young right out of the gate at home. It's the home opener. I am so fucking pumped for this game, dude. I am so ready. I know they're coming off of a loss, but Carolina doesn't get many primetime games. So when they do and they're at home, you got to take advantage of them. But I'm excited. What do you think about this matchup, Saints Panthers? And I believe the Saints are coming off of a very close victory over the Titans. So fire away.
Yeah. Saints look decent versus the Titans. I don't think the Titans are going to be a very good team this year, but Tannehill was not good in that game. But again, it's a talented Titans roster overall. The Saints, I believe they won by a point. And Derek Carr had some good moments. He had some bad moments, but they're coming to Carolina, like you mentioned, Monday night game, prime time. Bryce Young's really going to get a chance to show fans in Carolina week 2, second game in the NFL. Can he bounce back from that performance week 1? He is a rookie. If he doesn't, it's not the end of the world. Let's not push the panic button and call him a bust like your friend was. But, I believe that he can. I think that he has all the ability in the world to go out there and throw for 300 yards and 3 touchdowns on Monday night. But we'll see. I mean, the Saints defense is very talented as well. You got guys like Marshawn Lattimore, Tyrann Mathieu, Cameron Jordan, of course. They're talented on all 3 levels. Demario Davis at linebacker. I mean, this is a Saints team that I think it's going to be between them and the Panthers week after week for the division. And I still don't believe in the Falcons. I still don't think the Falcons are a good team. I think that the Panthers turned the ball over 4 times, and that's why they lost. If they wouldn't have turned the ball over 4 times, they would have won that game. So Panthers beat themselves in that game, and I think they're still a better team. And I think it's going to come down to between the Saints and Panthers for the division. So this is going to be a good preview for that. I still have faith in Frank Wright. I still have faith in Bryce Young. I still have faith in this offense to get together. I still have faith in this defense. Cornerback room is worrisome for me. Derek Carr is a quarterback that's going to throw up more than Ritter did. So Dante Jackson, Troy Hill, CJ Henderson better strap up. You know, they're going to get some work, more work than they did week one. I think Von Bell and Xavier Woods are going to get more work. You know, they're going to have a chance to – Von Bell's going to have a chance to have a Jesse Bates game, I think. What we saw week one in Carolina or in Atlanta versus them in Atlanta. So I think that this is going to be a good game. I think it's going to be a close game. Are we giving our predictions right now?
No.
Okay,
Not yet. Not
okay.
yet.
Yeah. No predictions, but I do think that Bryce bounces back. I'll say that. I think that he does. He's not going to have an interception this game. I feel confident in that. I think that if anything, I think he's going to not take any chances at all and not have an interception. But I do think that he will take a couple of deep shots, especially if Shark is coming back. I think that's going to open up the field a little bit more. Hurst, of course, looked good week one. Hurst was probably the most consistent offensive weapon that he had. Yeah, I mean, I'm excited for it. I think it's going to be a good game.
Yeah, I think it's going to be good. At least I hope it's going to be good. You know, the Carolina these last couple years have played the Saints well. They swept them last year. Obviously, an entirely different team now with Derek Carr and you got guys like they added on defense. But I think the biggest test for Carolina is going to be going up against this defense. We previewed, you know, these rosters across the board and up and down defensively. I think the Saints are going to be a real problem for Carolina. And I know the offensive line held up, but I just think this Saints group, the front seven, is a much better unit than what the Falcons have to offer. And, you know, the Saints have a pretty damn good secondary as well. So this is going to be a really big test. I think Chark has to play if Carolina wants a chance offensively in this one, because I think those windows are going to be even that much more tighter. And I think those deep shots, they're not going to come as much like they did. I think Frank said like they threw 5 or they dialed up 5 to 7 deep balls, and they either checked out of them or they were missed or whatever the case was. So they didn't make a lot of those 20, 40-yard chunk plays in this last game, and I think it's just going to be harder to come by for the Panthers. The Saints did struggle, though, versus Tennessee. They didn't score a touchdown until I think it was the third or fourth quarter in this one offensively. So Carolina might have that right going for them, and obviously Carolina's defense, I think, is played well up to this point. I still think they will play well. But, you know, I think Brian Burns is going to play well. I think Justin Houston needs to, you know, have some pressures in there or a sack.
Watch out for Shy Tuttle. Watch out for Shy Tuttle in this game.
And that's a Shy Tuttle coming, or his revenge game. So, yeah, Carolina, I keep forgetting they got a couple of these guys from the division. So they'll have and Deshaun is it Deshaun? No, Deshaun Williams is from the Broncos. He was from Denver. That's right. Okay.
Von Bell, though.
But Von Bell, that's the other one. I knew there was another one. So maybe this is the Von Bell pick game. So, and Carolina hasn't gotten a turnover yet this year, and that's something I feel like they struggled with last year. So hopefully they can. I think obviously Evero is a way more of a step up than what they've had in the past. So look for that. So Von Bell, keying on those guys, Shy Tuttle. And then Jamal Williams. He worries me. I know he didn't have a massive game from my understanding in this past game versus Titans, but he is one. He's just a big back, and I know the Panthers, through Staley, has had a good run-in with him, and, you know, they did really well last year in Detroit. So maybe he can help this Carolina defense out with him and trying to limit what he does, but they're going to have to face him as well. So it's going to be a good test. You mentioned, I feel like the Saints are the big dogs of this division, really. And, you know, Carolina, just based off what they did in this Atlanta game, it's going to be a tough game.
Yeah.
Very tough game. Prediction. Do you have one ready?
Yeah.
All right. What do you got?
I do. I am not ready, like I said, to give up hope on this team on either side of the ball. I do think they struggled. I do think that was anticipated by a lot of people because, again, whole new roster pretty much, new head coach. rookie quarterback, he's not going to come out on fire, unfortunately, like Cam Newton did week 1, back 2012 or whenever Cam's rookie season was. So I think that Carolina wins this game. I know I tweeted something, a couple days ago that, it's a possibility that this team's 0-6 going into the bye week. I do think that's still a possibility just based off the schedule, not based off of their ability. It's a gauntlet of a schedule that Carolina has for these next 5 weeks going into their bye week, week 7. So I got Carolina winning this game 21-17. I think Bryce has a bounce back, like I said. I think he throws 2 touchdowns, and then Miles Sanders runs one in. I think Shark coming back helps. I hope he comes back. I think if he's in the game, he catches a touchdown. And I'd say I'd give Hurst the other one. I think that's a safe bet. So, I got Carolina winning, primetime at home. Bryce's home debut at Bank of America Stadium. I got it being a win in Carolina, and then the vibes are a lot different in Carolina if that's the result.
So Carolina last year against Saints, obviously different team. 22-14, September 25th. And then the 10-7 snoozer on January 8th of this year. Derek Carr's record on Monday night is 6-4. And in the last 4 games, he's thrown a pick in 3 of the 4 of the last 4 Monday nighters. I can't put my cards on Carolina this week. I can't. I'm going to say the Saints win. I think it's going to be a close game. I just think Carolina is they still got a lot to learn. There were some mental mistakes made in this one. Offensively, Bryce Young with the picks. I don't think he's going to make those same mistakes. I think he's going to improve in this game, but I just think it's going to be too much for Carolina to overcome. I'm going to say 27-17 in this one. I think Carolina puts up some more points. Maybe Bryce Young gets a couple touchdowns. We'll see. But I just think it's just going to be too much. And I hope they prove me wrong. And I hope on next week I am happy and it's 1-1 because Carolina's got a tough test going forward if they're starting off 0-2. But again, rookie season, new staff. Let's pump the brakes a little bit and relax. But we're both going to be there. Is that right? Did you secure the tickets yet?
I have not secured my ticket yet, but I am waiting. I'm having somebody join me. One of my brothers is coming, so I am going to wait and kind of get the 100% okay from him, and then I'm going to secure some tickets. Maybe try to get some lowers if possible, if not too expensive. So we'll see.
And get a ball for me from Bryce Young. I appreciate it. Thanks.
Boom.
Hayden Hurst he won't be throwing those in the stands anytime.
He doesn't black out.
Well, we just want to thank everyone for listening to the Panthers on Tap podcast. You can catch our episodes wherever you get your podcasts. You can also follow us on YouTube. Hit that subscribe button. Go follow us on Twitter at Panthers on Tap for all your analysis and breaking news. And as always,